Family, listen carefully. The world today wants you to put every detail of your life on display. They want you to announce your plans, share your struggles, and post your victories so that everyone can see. But there is a truth you must understand. When too many voices have access to your life, they have access to your peace. Not everyone who watches you is cheering for you. Not every ear that listens to you is praying for you. There are battles you fight in secret that must stay in secret so that heaven can cover you. When you keep your life private, you give God the room to be your protector, your provider, and your defender. Your heart is the center of your thoughts, emotions, and decisions. It is where your deepest dreams, fears, and faith reside, which is why it must be treated like a treasure, not a display case for the world to touch and handle. When the scripture tells us to guard our heart, because out of it flow the issues of life, it is reminding us that everything you do, everything you say, and everything you pursue is shaped by the condition of your heart. If you allow everyone access to it, if you let just anybody speak into it, criticize it, or trample through it, they will contaminate what God is carefully cultivating within you. Guarding your heart is not about being cold or distant. It is about being wise enough to protect what is sacred. In life, there are people who will speak life over you and others who will plant seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity. If your heart is wide open without boundaries, those seeds will take root and affect how you think, how you feel, and how you see yourself. Privacy becomes a fence around your heart that keeps destructive influences out and allows healthy growth within. This is why you don't need to share every detail of your struggles, plans, and relationships with everyone who asks. Some people are not looking to help you. They are looking to judge you. And if their words take hold in your spirit, they can derail your focus and steal your peace. Guarding your heart means being selective about who gets to speak into your life and what information you give them. When you protect your heart, you also protect the vision God has placed inside you. Many times, God gives us dreams that are still fragile and in the early stages of development. If you expose them too soon to people who lack faith or understanding, they might crush them before they can grow strong. Guarding your heart means waiting for the right time to share and the right audience to share with. It means letting God finish his work in you before putting it on display for the world to see. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in good soil. He does not leave the field unguarded, allowing animals or careless people to walk over the soil and damage what has been planted. Instead, he keeps watch, waters the seed, and gives it time to sprout before showing others what he has been working on. In the same way, you must keep watch over what God is doing in your heart. For example, imagine a young woman who feels called to start a community outreach program. In the early stages, she tells everyone about her idea, hoping for support. But instead of encouragement, she is met with criticism, doubt, and gossip Her passion begins to fade because the negativity weighed her spirit down. Later, she learns to keep her plans quiet, pray over them, and only share with those who truly support her vision. When she finally launches the program, it thrives because her heart stayed protected long enough for her dream to grow strong. Your heart is the wellspring of your life. Protect it with wisdom, cover it in prayer, and only allow people who speak life and truth to have access to it. When you guard it like the priceless treasure it is, you position yourself to walk in peace and fulfill the purpose God has planted within you. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, but in truth, it can be one of the most powerful spiritual weapons you carry. There are times in life when explaining yourself, defending your actions, or proving your worth to people will only drain you of your strength and peace. Silence, when guided by wisdom, is not avoidance. It is an act of trust. It says, I do not need to convince man when God already knows my heart. I do not need to fight with words when heaven can fight for me. When you choose to stay silent instead of arguing, justifying, or retaliating, you are placing the situation in God's hands. You are allowing Him to be your defender, which is far more effective than anything you could say in your own strength. One of the most dangerous things we can do is overshare. Every word you speak can become a tool in someone else's hand for good or for harm. When you reveal too much about your struggles, your goals, or your private battles to people who are not meant to carry that information, you give them unnecessary power over your emotions. Some may encourage you, but others may use your words against you, question your motives, or speak negativity into your situation. Silence takes that power back. It denies the enemy the ammunition he could have used to discourage or distract you. Choosing silence also gives your heart space to listen. When you are always speaking, defending, or explaining, you fill the air with noise and cannot clearly hear the still, small voice of God guiding you. Silence allows you to pause, to reflect, and to receive divine instruction. Many people make hasty decisions because they felt pressured to respond immediately. But wisdom says to wait, be still, and let your answer come from a place of peace rather than impulse. Consider the example of Jesus when he stood before his accusers during his trial. They hurled accusations, mocked him, and tried to provoke him into defending himself. But he remained silent. That silence was not weakness. It was power. It was a declaration that his mission and identity did not depend on their approval or their understanding. He knew the Father's plan, and no amount of speaking could have changed their hearts in that moment. His silence became his strength, and ultimately, it fulfilled prophecy. A simple example of this in everyday life might be a man falsely accused at work of something he did not do. His first instinct might be to confront everyone, to shout his innocence, and to argue with his colleagues. But instead, he chooses to stay quiet, focus on his work, and trust that the truth will come out. Weeks later, the real source of the problem is discovered, and his integrity is restored, not because he fought for himself, but because his silence allowed the truth to speak louder than his words ever could. Silence is not running away. Silence is standing still in faith, knowing that God will fight for you, that the truth will rise, and that your peace is worth more than winning an argument. It is choosing not to be baited into battles that God never told you to fight. When you use silence as a spiritual weapon, you disarm the enemy, you protect your heart, and you keep your spirit aligned with heaven's plan. Not everyone in your life is meant to know what God is doing for you. And not everyone can handle the weight of the blessings He is about to pour out. It is natural to feel excited when something good happens. When prayers are answered, doors open, or dreams begin to take shape. But excitement can lead to oversharing. When you share too soon with the wrong people, you risk inviting envy, jealousy, and opposition that can delay or even damage what God is birthing in your life. The truth is, some people will cheer for you only as long as you are on their level. The moment your blessing starts to elevate you, their support can turn into criticism or resentment. This is not always because they are bad people. Sometimes your growth simply exposes their insecurities or reminds them of what they have not yet achieved. God is strategic. He works in seasons and in timing, and part of walking with Him is learning when to speak and when to stay silent. When you keep your blessings between you and God until the right time, you protect them from unnecessary attacks and opinions. Many blessings are like newborn babies, fragile, still developing, and needing care before they are exposed to the outside world. If you reveal them too soon, you can crush them under the weight of other people's words, doubts, or negative energy. Waiting for God's timing is not about being secretive out of fear, but about being wise enough to shield what He is doing until it is strong enough to stand. This principle is powerfully illustrated in the story of Joseph. God gave Joseph a prophetic dream that he would one day rise to a position of great authority, and even his brothers would bow before him. Joseph, full of youthful excitement, shared this dream openly with his family. Instead of celebrating him, his brothers became jealous, angry, and plotted to get rid of him. What was meant to inspire hope became the very thing that caused him pain, betrayal, and years of hardship before the dream was fulfilled. Joseph's story teaches us that not every revelation is meant to be shared right away. Some things are meant to stay between you and God until the season is right for them to be revealed. An excellent modern example of this might be a young entrepreneur who develops a new business idea. Excited, she tells all her friends about it. Some are supportive, but others secretly feel threatened or competitive. One friend even takes the idea and tries to launch it first. This causes her frustration and heartbreak. The next time she receives a vision for a business, she keeps quiet, works diligently, and prays over it until the plan is ready to launch. When it finally goes public, it succeeds because she let God protect it while it was still growing. Your blessings are not just for you. They are a testimony of God's goodness. And the enemy would love to stop them before they manifest. Protect them by keeping them private until God says it's time to share. When you finally do reveal them, it will be undeniable that it was God who brought them to pass, and no man or woman will be able to take credit for it. Timing matters, and wisdom will preserve your peace. Peace is one of the most valuable gifts God gives you, but it is also one of the easiest things to lose when you allow everything and everyone to have unlimited access to your life. Peace is not simply a fleeting emotion. It is a state of wholeness, a sense of calm and divine order that allows your mind and spirit to rest. To maintain this gift, you must build boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They are gates to keep chaos out. They define what you will allow into your space and what you will not tolerate. When you do not set boundaries, you give people and situations permission to disturb your spirit, drain your energy, and pull you away from what God is calling you to do. Boundaries are necessary because not everyone carries the same spirit of peace you do. Some people thrive on drama, negativity, or constant conflict. And if you are not careful, they will drag you into their storm. Others may not mean harm, but their constant demands, expectations, or criticism can weigh you down until you feel suffocated. Protecting your peace means learning to say no without guilt, stepping away from unhealthy conversations, and recognizing that you do not owe everyone access to your time, energy, and emotions. When you create healthy boundaries, you give your soul the room it needs to breathe, reflect, and hear God clearly. Many people pray for peace, but refuse to distance themselves from the very sources that rob them of it. Sometimes peace is not about praying for the storm to stop. It is about stepping out of the storm and refusing to return. God cannot fill you with rest if you are constantly surrounding yourself with noise, negativity, and distraction. Your responsibility is to choose the environments and relationships that align with His purpose for your life. Even Jesus modeled boundaries. He loved the multitudes, healed the sick, and taught the crowds, but He also regularly withdrew to lonely places to pray and recharge. He did not stay available to everyone at every moment because He knew that constant exposure would drain His strength. If the Son of God needed space to guard His peace, so do you. An excellent example of this might be a young mother who feels constantly stressed because friends, relatives, and coworkers are always calling, visiting, and asking for her help. She rarely has time to rest, and she feels guilty for saying no. Eventually, she realizes that her anxiety is growing and her patience is wearing thin. She decides to set firm boundaries, limiting visits, scheduling quiet time, and politely declining certain requests. At first, some people are upset, but soon her home becomes calmer, her mind clearer, and she is able to love her family from a place of peace rather than exhaustion. Peace is a fortress that you must guard intentionally. It is not selfish to protect it. It is necessary. When your spirit is at rest, you can think clearly, love others better, and stay focused on the path God has set for you. Boundaries do not push people away. They create the space where real love, clarity, and spiritual strength can thrive. Guard your peace, and you will find that the noise of the world grows, quiet enough for you to hear the gentle whisper of God's voice. Growth is one of the most mysterious and sacred processes in life, and often it happens in places where no one can see you. Just like a seed must be buried in the soil and left in darkness before it can break open and grow, you too must go through seasons where you are hidden, unseen, and misunderstood. These seasons are not punishments. They are preparation. It is in the hidden places where God does his deepest work in you, shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the very thing you have been praying for. Growth that happens too quickly or too publicly often does not last because the roots are not deep enough to sustain it. God allows you to be buried for a time so your roots can go deep before you bloom. Many people become frustrated when they feel like their life is on pause, when no one notices their efforts, or when their prayers seem to go unanswered. But what they don't realize is that growth is taking place in the unseen, in the quiet of your personal devotion, in the tears you cry at night, in the decisions you make to stay faithful when no one is watching. That is where God is building the person you must become to handle the blessing you are asking for. If he promoted you before your roots were ready, the weight of the blessing might crush you. Hidden seasons are also seasons of protection. The seed is not left exposed on the surface where it can be eaten, stepped on, or blown away. It is placed safely beneath the soil until it is strong enough to withstand the elements. In the same way, God hides you so that premature exposure does not destroy your purpose. Some opportunities you are praying for may not have come yet because he knows you still need time to mature, to learn, and to develop the spiritual muscles required to handle the next level. Trust his timing. Growth in the dark is also humbling. It teaches you to depend on God and not on applause, likes, or validation from others. When no one is praising you, you learn to work for the audience of one. That kind of growth produces authenticity and depth that cannot be faked when the spotlight finally shines on you. An excellent example of this is seen in the life of David. Before he became a king, he was a shepherd boy out in the fields where no one noticed him. Day after day, he cared for sheep, fought off lions and bears, and worshiped God with his harp, all in secret. Nobody applauded him for those battles or those songs. Yet, it was in that hidden place that God prepared him for the giant he would one day face, the throne he would one day sit on. If David had skipped that season of private growth, he would not have had the courage or skill to defeat Goliath, or to rule a nation. Your hidden season is not wasted. It is not a delay. It is development. The dark places you walk through, the quiet sacrifices you make, the obedience that nobody sees, all of it is producing something powerful inside you. And when God finally brings you into the light, when He decides it is your season to shine, the fruit of that hidden growth will be undeniable and unstoppable. When people misunderstand you, when lies are spoken about you, and when your character is attacked, the natural instinct is to defend yourself, to explain your side of the story, and to prove to everyone that you are innocent. But the more you fight every battle in public, the more drained you become, and the less time you have to focus on the purpose God has placed in front of you. Letting God be your defender is an act of surrender. It is saying, Lord, I trust you to handle this better than I ever could. His protection is stronger than your arguments. His vindication is louder than your words. And His timing is always perfect. When you allow Him to fight for you, you stop trying to win approval from people and start resting in His justice. Trying to clear your name on your own can often make things worse. The more you explain, the more you fuel gossip, and the more energy you give to those who want to see you distracted or discouraged. Some battles are designed to pull you away from your purpose, to get you so focused on defending yourself that you forget what God has called you to do. When you choose to step back, to remain still, and to place the situation in God's hands, you are not being passive. You are choosing divine strategy. You are allowing God to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies, just as His word promises. Trusting God as your defender also protects your peace. If you spend your days trying to respond to every rumor, every insult, and every false accusation, your spirit will stay agitated. You will live in constant reaction instead of moving forward in faith. But when you surrender your reputation to God, you find rest. You realize that the one who sees everything, every injustice, every lie, every whisper, will bring truth to the surface at the right time. He will restore what was damaged and elevate you beyond what you could have done in your own strength. This truth is seen powerfully in the story of Moses and the Israelites. In Exodus, when the people stood trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army, they panicked and blamed Moses. They were ready to turn on him, but Moses did not argue or try to justify his leadership. Instead, he told them, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." God responded by parting the sea, making a way where there was no way, and proving to everyone that His hand was on Moses. That was divine vindication. No amount of words from Moses could have accomplished what God did in a single moment. A modern example might be a man at work falsely accused of misconduct. At first, he wants to confront everyone, defend himself loudly, and argue until they believe him. But instead, he chooses to stay calm, continue doing his job with integrity, and pray for God's help. Weeks later, The truth is uncovered through evidence he didn't even know existed. Not only is his name cleared, but his boss publicly praises him for his professionalism and promotes him to a higher position. His silence allowed God's timing to bring vindication that was undeniable. When you let God be your defender, you no longer live in fear of what people say or think. You live free, knowing that the one who holds the universe also holds your name and your future. So stop wasting your strength trying to fight battles you were never meant to fight. Stand still, trust him, and watch as he turns every false word into a testimony of his power and faithfulness in your life. Beloved, peace is too precious to waste on public approval. Privacy is not about secrecy. It is about security. When you keep your life private, you give God permission to be your shield, your voice, and your protector. So, guard your heart, stay quiet when needed, and let your growth speak for itself in time. And when the world asks why you are so calm, why you are not shaken, you can simply smile and say, because my life is in God's hands.